What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a very bright and upcoming assistant coach, a great high school basketball player at Gwynn Park here in PG County and at Boston College, where he played in the Big East and the ACC. He was kind of fortunate to play in both. He's a good friend in and out of the business. I remember watching him from before he even entered high school. And then, like I said, he's a PG County native from Oxon Hill High School, and I coached at Oxon Hill High School, even though he didn't attend. It's Lewis Hinnant. And before we even get into speaking with Lewis, we're going to talk about his bio a little bit. I'm probably still a little upset that he didn't come to Oxon Hill, even though he had a great career at Gwynn Park. I can't be mad with it. And like I said, he went on to big things. But Lewis, and what we call him, you may have me a few times call him Bird, because that's how I know him. Everybody back at home knows him as Bird. Bird, like I said, went on and played at Boston College for 4 years, had an outstanding career, and played professionally basketball from 2006 to 2014. And then, he got right into coaching. So, a lot of guys, he knew what he wanted to do. And so he came back from playing after 8 years over in Europe. And he ended up landing a position as director of basketball operations at University of Massachusetts in Lowell. And then he was for that 1 year. After that 1 year, he ended up being becoming a full-time assistant. So he's been doing that for the last 5 years. He's 6 years into the business, about to head on to 7. I just want to welcome to the show, like a guy I see that's blossoming in this business, Lewis Bird Hinnant. Welcome to the show, Lewis.
Thanks, Coach. Sorry, let me get that out the way right now, because I'm just used to calling you Coach, so I can't call you nothing other than Coach. But thanks for having me. I'm excited about the platform that you've put together. I've already watched your first 2 episodes, so like I said, I'm excited to see where you go with this. I'm excited to hear everybody's story, and as a young coach in the business, I'm excited to learn. I know a lot of these coaches have been in the business for a while, so there's definitely things that I can take from them, and I'm looking to do that.
All right, sounds good, man. So, okay, I'm gonna say Bird. I just can't stop saying that. All of y'all know it's on a professional level, but okay, Lewis, let's go ahead and get unmasked. Like you said, you're young enough. You're not you're in between, because you got a couple of years in, but and you started at a good place for you. There's no handbook to being a college coach. I don't think people understand that. Most people go to their jobs, they get training. Your training is on the job, right? It just happens. So tell me about your first day, your first week, the first month after things are done with human resources. And it may have changed for you a little bit, because you went from being a director of basketball ops to the next year being an assistant. And so you had a chance to see what other guys did for a year. Even though you were a player, you never really get to see what coaches do. All you think they do is recruit. But tell me, after you went through the human resources and orientation part, like, especially when no one gives you direction, what was that like?
Well, it was difficult, especially learning some of the administrative parts of the job. Obviously, when you get into basketball, from the player side, you think we're going to come in, we're going to practice, I'm going to work all these guys out. And that's definitely not the job when you're the director of basketball ops. But I would say I was eager to learn some of that stuff, because, up until that point in my life, it was all basketball. So, even when I was a pro, every day, I would think like, am I missing out on some life skills? Am I missing out on some, eventually I'm gonna have to stop playing, and I gotta figure things out. So, when they would give me tasks, simple things like, hey, balancing the budget, or, stuff like that. Like, I was kind of all in on it, because I wanted to learn those things. And I would go meet with different people in the building to try to get a better perspective. Even things as simple as sending out a fax, like I never had to do it. So like I said, I was all in, and whatever I could take off the full-time assistance place, like any of the administrative stuff, because I couldn't go out and recruit and do all that kind of stuff. I was like, give it to me, like I'll take it. And to try, first of all, to feel like I'm contributing to the program. And like I said, this was my first time ever having to do those things. So I was excited to just learn something new.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I mean, and like that, I'm glad you're saying all that because, like back in the day, man, everybody like, it's like a new way of getting into the business now. Like you work camps, you coach high school basketball, you work your way up and, or like now you go through the AAU way or, like guys like yourself, you put in the work, one as a player in college, number two, as a professional. So, you still like, like you got a chance right when you're done. I think that's the best time when you're done playing to hop right in. And, so I'm glad it's kind of worked out for you early and you're still in this business. I actually like that. I'm going to go to this next question. Because I used to see you a lot. I don't know how we always ended up in Texas somehow recruiting early in your career. But like, what was your best and your worst recruiting story?
Well, I can start with my worst recruiting story. I was on my way to, I want to say Cloud County out in Kansas. Going to see a kid, was excited about going to see a kid. It was like a quick turnaround. Like I think I'm going out and we probably play in 2 days. And you know how those trips in Kansas is. There's like 1 or 2 flights going out a day. So I got a connector through, and I'm coming from Massachusetts. I got a connector through Texas. So I leave, like I got like a 5 a.m. flight. I'm on it. I get off in Texas. My phone's going crazy, right? For my layover. So I hop out. I end up calling the coach from Cloud. He's like, snowstorm just hit, everything shut down. Like there is no game. Like, so, and you know how it is sometimes with the budget and talking to the business department, and I gotta have receipts and, explain my trip. So now I just turn right back around. I'm at the, at the kiosk trying to explain, listen, I gotta get back to Massachusetts. Like, there's nowhere for me to go. They're not really trying to work with me like I want them to. Eventually I get back, but when I get back, now I have to explain this trip of like why my receipts aren't adding up. You put in for these times, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I ate in the airport and I ate good in the airport. I think I even talked to you at the airport. I was at Papados in the airport. I called you and you and I talked. But, in my experience, I'm like, hey, I'll pay for it, but I'm stuck in the airport for a few hours. I'm going to enjoy myself, as best way I can, and get back to campus and join the team. I would probably say my best trip was one of my first trips. It was at Spooky Nook. And the reason why I say that is because we probably arguably ended up getting the best player on our team from that. And just learning the way of recruiting from guys like yourself and also guys on my staff and not necessarily following the crowd. So, I get there and I'm like, obviously court 1, if you ever been to Spooky Nook, court 1, that's the court. And initially, you feel like you should, go that way. Like, everyone's over there, let me go. And I get over there, I'm seeing guys, obviously like yourself, but, guys who's, school's much higher level than mine. So my natural instincts is, well, if I see a kid, they see a kid too, I'm not getting them. So let me go to one of these other courts. And I just ended up trusting my gut, and I go to the blue courts in the back. And ended up finding this kid from Frederick County who ended up being, he's still here. He's actually in the draft right now. He's all conference player. He's our leading scorer. He had nothing like at that point, and this was in the spring. So he was getting ready to go to NAIA. And I'm like, hey man, like, let me go talk to my coach, give me a day or two. Again, this is my first recruiting trip. So I can't just say I got you, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I gotta go talk to my coach and, hopefully he sees what I see. And all this type of stuff. And long story short, my coach flies out to see him. He loved him, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's good. And you know what? Finding that diamond in the rough, or that jewel that no one else sees, and now he ends up being one of your best players, man. Like, that's terrific. That's a terrific story. Yeah. What did you have to give up achieving your current level of success? Because I know you've played, you played professional, so you've been away. This was before you got married and things of that nature, or you went away, and I know you're a family guy. You're real close with your mom, and with your brother. So I know that. But what did you have to give up achieving your current level of success?
I mean, you also know the neighborhood that I come from as well. And on a positive note, I had to, get away from some of those friends if I was gonna even make it on a high school level. Like, and that turned out to be a good thing. We're still friends to this day, but as far as hanging around every day and all that kind of stuff, I had to separate myself from, some of that. And in the neighborhood, it is what it is. Like, I had to separate myself from the neighborhood a little bit. And then, as I got older, and one of the things that always really bothered me, even in college, because I went away for school, and then I was away for, when I played overseas, is just the family time. Like you said, I have a younger brother who played at the same high school that I did, and then, went to play 4 years in college, and I only got to see one game he's ever played. And that was, as you start getting later on in your career, and you really start to do the math of like, I haven't spent Thanksgiving with my family since, at that time, it was 98, and I'm getting, and 1998 was my senior year. Sorry, not 98, 2002 was my senior year in high school. And I'm like, I haven't, you go 4 years in college, and in 8 years, you're talking 12 years that I haven't sat at the table for Thanksgiving. Or, obviously you get some Christmases, but that's not guaranteed in this business. And then things like that. And then my mom got into ministry. She started to build her own church and things like that. And if you know my mom don't miss no games. So she had been to everything, like, and she gonna be the loudest one. And then I felt like I couldn't support her. Like, well, now she has her thing going. And I couldn't support her because, I mean, I could give my tithes and offering, but I'm not there, and that messed with me. So they never made me feel bad about that or anything, but it was some things that you have to sacrifice if you want to, play at this level and maybe play this long.
I got to say, shout out to Lucky, man. He was in my class all 2 weeks before he ended up going. So I thought he was going to stay with us, man, and he followed in your path. So I got to say, I got to shout him out. In this business, we all know that, you got to scout, right? I mean, that's just what it is. And I mean, that's something you probably grown into since you've been coaching. But sometimes you do your best scout report and it end up being your worst game. Sometimes you do your worst scout report and you end up winning. And so it's like, a lot of times we invest a lot of time in our scout report. We want our players to be locked in just like us. And you can always tell whose scout it is by who's going the craziest on the sideline during the game. So right. What was your best and your worst scout report?
I think my best scout report was probably Boston. When we beat Boston College, my alma mater. What was it? It was my first year, and it wasn't a great scouting report. It was just that I knew player tendencies, and I knew the only way I know, playing at that level, I know what people think at, coming into these type of games. Umass, Lowell, who are these people? They're transitioning from Division II to Division I. It was like a game over the Christmas break, not a lot of crowd, right? And I'm like, most guys, for one, either they're gonna sleepwalk their way through the first half or they're coming out to get their numbers, right? So, cool, this is what we're gonna do. Make this a one-on-one game. They had one guy who really liked to score. let's play with him. Let's go under a couple screens. He's gonna turn this thing into a one-on-one game. Like he's gonna try to get his. All we trying to do is not get blew out at, coming into the game. Like we ain't thinking win, we thinking don't get blew out, right? So, as the game progresses, you're getting a lot of ball screens, guys going on, and people taking threes, right? So, if you're hitting, great game. If you're not, we're hanging around. We're hanging around, which that's what ended up happening. I mean, we got a tough group of guys, and, next thing you know, it's 3-4 minutes left in the game, and it's a 1-2 point ball game. We ended up hitting, a couple threes back to back, and we can win this thing. You know what I'm saying? And like now their confidence is going. It goes from let's stay in this thing to the crowd, like in the huddle. We better than them. All this type of stuff. And like lo and behold, like we ended up winning. And again, I think it was all circumstances. I think those guys stuck to it. We made it a one-on-one game. Guys was trying to get their numbers. They weren't sharing the ball, and we just hung around. And then we went on a small run at the right time. My worst scout report was, which game was it? It was every single game Odom's at UMBC's first year. Like when they got Odom there, and that's when they had Jarius Lowell's and all those guys. I mean, they went to, they went on to do something special in the tournament. Obviously beating Virginia. That was a really special team. And some games, we keep over the years because, a coach may be familiar with it. And after 2 years, I'm like, man, I can't beat this. Not that I'm necessarily beating them, but I gave it to somebody else. Let's trade. You take it. And like, let's figure this thing out because, the game plan that I put together, the way he runs his offense, I got a lot of respect for Coach Odom and his staff at UMBC. I love the way that they play. I watched their games in my free time just to try to pick up nuances and things like that. But it was like whatever we were trying to do or whatever I had in mind, like TV timeout would come, and then now they adjusted to it, and they ended up beating us. So that was the one where I feel like I just couldn't figure out how to put us in the best position to win.
All right. So I like. I mean, both of those are pretty good. Was like just. Beating Boston College. I know like that's a bittersweet one for you. Like hey, you on that other side, and it's my alma mater. We just beat them, but hey man, I'm against you for the day, but I root for you the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest challenge, man, you have experienced since you've been in college coaching, since you've been a college coach.
I think at this level, and you told me this when I got into business too. The guys you think are going to help you when you get in this business are not the guys that's going to help you. When I finished playing, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know about recruiting other than my recruiting stories and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, I got no enemies back home. I had a pretty good career and things like that. I'm going back home and I'm gonna get all the guys. It doesn't work like that. So that was probably like, my first year or two that I struggled with, like just reaching out to guys that I'm like, oh, he's definitely going to send me guys and things like that. And, and learning from, like I said, yourself and other people, like, you're going to have to get out here and learn the business, not necessarily the business of recruiting, but the nuances of recruiting. Like, don't even depend on that. Don't, be well-versed, have contacts everywhere, be more than just a DMV guy. And, since then, it was probably a blessing in disguise of, okay, the guys that I thought I could get, I didn't end up getting. So like you said, now I'm down in Texas, trying to figure out the Texas market. And as far as we're concerned, like we're heavy in Louisiana. You go out to California because at Boston College, a lot of my, some of the best players on my team, they were all California guys, Craig Smith, Jared Dudley, Sean Marshall. So I could go out there and, kind of piggyback off of those guys a little bit. And that kind of helped me a lot because honestly, my natural instinct was I'm going back to DMV. I know they got players. All my boys going to help me out. It just doesn't work like that. And, no hard feelings or anything, but it doesn't work like that.
No, I did. And I remember us having that conversation. Right? It was interesting that you brought it up because I like, wow. And then like now you're, 6 years in and like, I mean, that's the one thing we've always had, that relationship. Like we just bounce stuff off each other. So I'm glad you kind of listen to that. And like, you've done a great job of, just having relationships everywhere else. And that's outstanding. Do you ever find there are things about you that people like misunderstand? Like, what are they?
I would say my passion for the game. Like, for one, I feel like it wasn't that long ago that I was playing. For two, I can still practice and everything with the team and all this kind of stuff. So I still haven't gotten realistic about the game. Like, I feel like as a player, if you want to go far in this game, you got to be unrealistic. Like some of your goals, for me, if you would have went back to 1992 and and this has happened, when I said I'm gonna be a professional basketball player, most of the people in Oxon Hill, Glass Mountain are like, no, you're not. You're gonna be out here with the rest of us. Like we all said we was gonna be basketball players. That's what we all said. And somebody had actually told me that. But now that I'm on this side of things, I feel like, the older you are in this business, like as a coach, like you're realistic. Like, I speak of the Boston College situation. At that time, you couldn't tell me like, we're not supposed to win this game, but no, they paid you $90,000. Like, you think you're supposed to win that game? Otherwise they won't pay you, So, kind of understand, like getting a better understanding of what people can't do, what's realistic for our program, what level we should be at. Those first couple years when, you transition from Division II, it's hard, because I mean, you taking a lot of hits on the chin, and, whereas realistically to transfer from Division II and Division I and to win double-digit games every single year of the program, that's an accomplishment. But for us not to be like competing for the conference championship, I'm depressed. Like it's bothering me and things like that. But like I said, as I got into this business, it's helped me communicate with my players and also understand their abilities, their passion, or there's differing levels. Obviously there's some people that you're gonna recruit is gonna be maniacs about getting in the gym, yada yada yada. And there's some people that's just not like that. Doesn't mean he's not a good player, but that's not how he's wired. So I think for me, being able to channel my passion in the right way, trying to meet people where they are while still pushing them, I think that was a learning experience, and it's something that I think can get misunderstood. And then once like I said, I had to hone it a little bit, but then once people got to know me and really know who I am, everyone understands that we all on the same page.
Awesome. You played at the highest level as a college basketball player. You played professionally for 8 years, and now you're coaching. You're educator. I mean, you're still in the educating mode. What would you try? I know you do a great job on the court and that stuff, but like, what would you try to teach your players besides basketball?
The main thing right now is getting real about when it's over, or what if it doesn't go the way that you want it to go? Like, what's the plan? I try to give those scenarios, especially, as guys start to get to their junior year, and definitely with guys that I have a good idea that they may go play after this, because those are realistic situations that I had to deal with without knowing the plan or course of action. For example, I do this all the time. I play a little game with guys that I feel like, about to go play. We have a kid that I'm doing this with now. It's now August of 2021. So let's say June. You're back. You have $25,000. What are we doing? What's the plan? What are you interested in? Let's maybe try to get you headed in that field so that you can use some of this money in that direction. Because my story in this, and I got no problem saying it, because most people back home got the same story as me. We all blew the first check. Like, and that's real. Like, you know, I remember sitting in run and shoot. We working out with Keith Williams, myself, Lamar Butler, Phil Goss, Calvin Cage, Andrew Washington, a few other guys, and it's like August. We can't wait to go back, like, because we all blew that first check, you know, and you know, just trying to let these guys know this is what's going to happen. You're going to get that urge of having a certain amount of money that you've never had before, but the summer, like, you got no job, you know, you don't have obligations other than to wake up, work out, you know, maybe work out twice, and then what? You know what I mean? And you know, for the most part, a lot of us found ourselves just out blowing money. And, you know, the second year I wisened up because I had a different goal, which was I wanted to buy a house. I needed to get out of my mama's house. And that's when I really got serious about saving and putting the plan together. But to this day, I still like, man, I blew that first year's check. And, you know, like, you know, so I still think about that. But that's one of the things that I try to talk to them about: financial literacy. No matter how much money you have, I don't care if it's 5,000 or 50,000. Because you and I both know, we know people that played in the NBA for years who live in check to check. And then we know guys like, you know, coaches in the business who didn't make that much money as these guys, but they're financially educated about what they want to do, where to put it, and they're going to be fine, you know? So that's the things I want to get out. I don't like seeing people who went all this far with the game, got a degree, did everything that they're supposed to do, and then, you know, struggling, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, that's one of the biggest things I've been talking about, especially through this whole year, being out scouting and stuff, is like, some of these guys who know one and done, or some of these guys you know will go pro, like, you got to put them in marketing class. You got to put them in a financial class. Like, I talked with Brian Stiff, who's at Old Dominion, and he told me he went to UVA, he great education, but his best education was 3 days that he had that, you know, Coach Jeff Jones had a lawyer, a finance guy come in and speak to him about, you know, how to manage his money once he becomes a pro. And that was like the best education he had. And I don't think a lot of kids even know that part. And that's something that should be taught to these guys before they even go on to play professional sports, and or even just in life general, because they don't know, man. They just don't know how to manage money. No one teaches that anymore. And you just also, like you said, you don't have money, and all of a sudden you're throwing a lot of money, and you used to blowing that $20 you had in the pocket. So you think 20,000 or 40,000 will be any different, you know, until you learn, like, yo, I can't be hungry next year when I come home next summer. I got to figure something out. You know what I'm saying? So, but you've been in this, you know, short time, but like, you still got some memories. Trust me. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
I think my best memories are like when that feeling when, like, a team, like, let's say you're the underdog or something like that, and when the players come in and that feeling that they, like, that excitement, that celebration, just to see the camaraderie between teammates is like what I miss. And I always tell my guys, like, I'm on you guys trying to push you as hard as I can so that you are grateful for this, because my thing is, and again, like there's some raw just passion that comes out for me during the game that I don't like. I feel like coaches shouldn't do, but I tell them, like, there's no other point. Like, me being able to just show my raw emotion is over. Like, when I was a player, you know, you go get a block or you go get a dunk and you just yell to the crowd. Like, I can't do that anymore in life. Like, there is nowhere where that's acceptable, you know. So that's the part I miss, and I try to, you know, those are the best times when I see them have that, like, that moment, a big win, a win that, you know, we had to grind it out to the end of the game and we pulled it out, and like that raw emotion of, like, that's the part, like, that's the best part of the job for me. I would say, you know, the worst part of it is not seeing someone, you know, fulfill their, you know, whatever it is that they came for, because the reality of it is we've sat in all of these kids' living rooms, We met the grandmoms. We did all of this, and we definitely had, big aspirations and high hopes for each and every one of you. But the reality of it is, it doesn't work out like that. We got 13 scholarships, 13 guys can't play. That just is what it is, and you end up maybe not necessarily you, but a kid may end up severing a relationship with you, or the program in general, over playing time. And a lot of it in these days is impatience. I think people aren't realistic. For me and myself, I was fortunate to go and be able to play and start right away. I was not expecting that, coming in, and Troy Bell's already there and all that. So my mindset was, listen, this dude's here for 1 year. If I can learn everything I can, like everything he knows in 1 year, if he can get tired and I can come in and just be a pest, for 7-8 minutes a game, in the Big East for my freshman year. Like, I just wanted guys back home to be like, he's out there at least. Like he's on the court. You know what I mean? Like if I turn on ESPN, he's gonna get in. You know what I mean? Like that's all I kind of wanted my first year. But I think a lot of guys, even at this level, are coming in and they got NBA aspirations off the break, and it's like, dude, first of all, it's a process, and second of all, this is the level we're at. That dude that plays at whatever, Duke, you like him? Like he averaged 10, 11 points a game. He's not going to the NBA. And that's, there are certain guys that I'm like, that guy, you think he's better? He's better than you, right? Like, just being honest. Like, he's better than you. He's averaged 10 points a game. Well, guess what? He's going to be overseas when this thing's over. But you think that you're going to the NBA, like, after this year or something. So just those conversations, again, try not to, dim anybody's light on their dreams and goals or anything like that. But you also got to be real because, like I said, you've been around this game a long time. You've coached NBA players. A whole way more than was it. You know what I mean? So yeah, go defy the odds. I'm all about that. Go dream big, defy the odds. But I have to put you in a realistic mindset for life and for like what's to come out here.
That's good jewels right there, man. Like you just said it. Like that's what these guys don't understand. Like it's hard to go to the NBA. I don't like. What are you looking at when you watch these games? Like these dudes are the best, like of the best, and there's nothing wrong with if you play professionally. That's a plus. So nothing is given to these guys. And a lot of times, guys don't understand that. Like, do you even see the guys who play over in Europe, overseas, or like in the G League? Like these guys are good, man. I don't think you guys understand that. But everyone thinks they're a pro because everyone tells them they're a pro, and they really believe that. What was the most stressful situation you have faced?
I would probably say the first time a kid that I was very, very invested in, like in the family. He was from a very bad situation that, you know me, so I gravitated to it. I saw him. I saw what would happen if somebody didn't get their hands on this kid. And he's talented. He's a good kid. It's just circumstances, like product of your environment. Like, so, I put everything into it as far as making sure, like, if it was me and you at study hard, this is in high school. Hey, I need you to call me at this time to clock in. You're going to get this work done. It's going to be in on time. This, that, and the third. I have a relationship with your counselors, every one of your teachers. Like, if you're late to class, they're calling me. Hey, Nardo's not here. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to drop a name. Hey, and they would call and stuff like that. So I was very, very invested. And that was, one, after this, and everything was going well. He was all rookie team player, playing 20 plus, 25 plus minutes a game. And he's like, you know how it is. DC got to hold the guys, man. Like, I got to get back. And it hurt, it hurt because my intentions were, for one, I saw what he could be, I could see it. I'm like, as much as people talked about me, like, dude, you're faster, longer, more athletic. Like, you just need some structure. Like, I had structure that you didn't have. So that's kind of how I was seeing it, and it, you know, just trying to get somebody to see themselves the same way you see them isn't easy to do. So eventually he ended up just leaving, and I'm like, man, you know, almost 10 points a game as a sophomore. Like, why would you leave? And it hurt, you know, it crushed me a little bit, and that was a little stressful. Like, did I do something wrong? Was it something that I could have did better? You know, and then even, you know, some of his people was like, look, it ain't you, man. Like, this. So, you know, that kind of helped me out a little bit. And to this day, like, that's still my guy, you know, because we built that bond. And, you know, for life, I'm going to make sure he's okay. And if there's any way that I can help him, I will. So, but yeah, that one hurt a little bit. And I stressed out about that. And like, he was like my wife's favorite, like, you know, so the whole deal, it was like, you know, family, everything. It was a tough pill to swallow. I'm not gonna lie. But I did learn from that, and that you can't, you got to be compassionate and help these kids, but you can't allow that to, you know, affect your job and the decisions you make and things like that. Because these players will come and go, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you like when you, and that's just young and learning, but like emotion, man. Like you say, you invest in a lot of this stuff. You expect more than they expect themselves, and sometimes it's like, you know, you just you buy in so much, and it's like then you get worn out, or you just like tired physically, mentally. You're like, man, and then you question yourself. But I'm glad some people stepped in and said, "No, man, it wasn't you," and so that helped you out. I actually like that. This is gonna be kind of funny. It could be sad. I don't know, because this comes out of left field. But like, what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Any player?
You can go any player if you want to.
I'll tell a story about one of my former teammates. It was it wasn't necessarily his fault, but this is a strange story. We're getting ready to go. My junior year, that team was loaded. I don't even remember, we started out the season 20-0. We got as high as number 3 in the country before we lost to Notre Dame at Notre Dame. So we felt pretty good about going to the tournament and what we can accomplish. Our sixth man was a huge part of our team. Like, our sixth man finished the game. He was probably the 3rd leading scorer on our team. Great defender, secondary ball handler, everything. And let's say in 2 days, we're about to fly out to, I think it was in Wisconsin, where the first round of the tournament was. And we come in for practice, he's not there. He comes in with his entire family. I mean, battered, bruised, bandages everywhere, stitches, you know, all over the place. And we like, wait, what happened? And apparently he went out with some of his friends. He was from Boston. He went out with some of his friends. They go back home. Someone ends up breaking in the house. He lived off campus. Someone ends up breaking in the house. He leaps, like, and they're coming in. They got weapons, knives, chains, you know, all that kind of stuff. His room was at the top floor, which is probably a 30-foot drop. So he's trying to hold these guys off to the point where he can't anymore. This is the story he's giving us, to the point where he can't anymore, and ends up he said, I just jumped through the window, like from the top floor straight through the window, like on some movie stuff. Like, and hits the pavement. He's like, my legs are like shot. So I just roll under the car. Like, there's a car that he just rolls under. Now he's like, these people come out and they're looking for him. Like, they're in the parking lot, but they don't know. And he's just under the car. And then, like I said, by the next day, he ended up playing, but he couldn't help us. Like, he couldn't dribble, you know, things like that. And this team was loaded. Like, you know, we felt like we could go past the Sweet 16 maybe, something like that. And, like not anything he did wrong, but that really hurt us. Like we ended up losing in the second round. And, that's one of the wildest stories that I've ever been around. Like for that to happen, like tomorrow we're getting on the flight to go to Wisconsin, like for the tournament. So it was crazy.
very, very crazy. You've been in a short time. I kept saying it, but and you worked for a good guy for 6 years. And like I said, I think you got a bright future ahead of you. Someday I see you as a head coach in this business. But if you had a chance to work for anyone in men's college basketball, who would that be and why? And that could be you being as a head coach working for an AD, or you've been an assistant just moving up another level. Like I know I'm not getting you in trouble. I know your boss, your guy now is a very good coach, but like who would you say that would be if you're looking at guys?
And I'm gonna take the bias out of it because outside of like Al Skinner, Ed Cooley, Bill Cohen, I would probably say that somebody I got a lot of respect for is Mike Jones at Radford. He recruited me as a player. I've always just liked his demeanor, how he's gotten the most out of his guys down there at Radford. They compete, they play hard. And it's not like, it's Radford. So like, good school, but like, we're from not too far from there. It's not like, kids were like dying to go to Radford. So like I feel like just his demeanor, his approach to the game, his like, when he sees me, I think as a head coach, like if let's say I'm in the gym before he's there, like he'll just, come up and talk and, when you don't get that from all head coaches at all. And he's got no problem. Like, I can ask him questions and, I don't feel like I'm, intruding or things like that. But like I said, I think that as an African-American head coach, the way he carries himself and the respect that he has and, his ability to adapt to different, groups of people, different climates, neighborhoods, things like that. I got a lot of respect for it. And, if I can, somewhat mimic that, like that's kind of the route that I want to go, like, be kind of one of those type of guys. Like I said, I think Al Skinner's in that same type of mold, but, someone outside of that, like I got a lot of respect for Mike Jones.
Man, plus, hey, DMV guy, he always makes sure DMV guys taken care of. I'm a big fan of Mike Jones. We're really good friends, actually. When I first started talking about, doing this, he sent a text message, said, "What are you doing, a movie?" I said, "No, kind of a docu-series." And then I was kind of explaining to him how I was doing it with assistant coaches first. He said, "Lamar, you don't have to apologize to me, man. Look, you're doing a great job. Like, I'm not worried about being on it." And so, like, that's the type of guy he is. Mm-hmm. He's a great guy. Great coach, but even, like, a better person, man. And, like, he's been a veteran in this game for a long time, and he's done an outstanding job. So you can't go wrong with him. Like you talked about Al Skinner, Ed Cooley, Bill Cohen, who's a terrific coach, have a chance to coach against them, 3 years. And what he's done at Northeastern is unbelievable. I just think he has a bright mind, and he does a great job with his teams. The biggest accomplishment you have experienced since you have become a college coach?
Again, I like the fact that, that everything that everyone's told us as far as making the transition hasn't happened. I remember, like, when I first got here, they were like, prepare for some 2-3 win seasons and all that kind of stuff. And that just hasn't happened. What I'm excited about is how, over a period of time and through, constant building relationships and things like that, I remember having to explain everything about UMass Lowell. You call a kid, it's in Massachusetts, the city is Lowell. It's about 30 minutes outside of Boston. We're in America East. You know, I got to tell you every single thing. And like, before I even get to sell myself as a coach, like I got to give you the Wikipedia on the university. Like, who are you guys? What division are you in? All this kind of stuff. And I think now there's some name recognition. There's some brand recognition. You know, I'm excited about the fact that, you know, I know we talked about pros earlier, but that we are now putting pros out. And, you know, guys do see this as I hate to use stepping stone, but as a medium to get to where they want to go. Like, they're not looking at it and saying, oh, I want to be a pro. Like, I can't make it there. You know, guys are able to come here. The proof is in the pudding. That we have alums who are playing in Europe right now. You know, we got, like I said, we got a kid in the draft right now. So like I said, just being able to build some brand recognition, and all that, and again, some name recognition amongst the program that the outsiders, like, again, not even necessarily right around here, but, you know, in the DMV, down south in California, like, they're now reaching out to us, hey, I got a kid, you know, versus, you know, the other way around when we were basically begging when we first got the job.
What movie or TV show title best describes your week?
This current week?
It could be any week.
Best TV show title. Now I got to think of some shows because I don't watch much.
Telling me, asking them how you watching movies, man, or TV shows?
In Too Deep. In Too Deep.
In Too Deep. Wow. Wow.
That's a movie. But yeah, like I'm in this game, man. I'm you know, 10 toes down. I don't plan on going anywhere. I've sacrificed my life for this. Like, I'm in too deep, you know.
So
like,
I mean, who are you? Are you Jake? Or, I mean, who are you though?
I ain't no cop, Jay Reed. There ain't no cop. I'm probably more like an oh my apps than that, you know. You know, but yeah, like, yeah, that's a movie I like a lot. And you know, I will go above the rim, but I don't really get above the rim anymore.
I see you every once in a while in the video. I see you every once in a while you put it out.
I gotta show them a little bit I can still do it every now and then.
What's your you've been around some good coaches, man. I'm gonna go back to Coach Matthews at Gwen Park, or you know, you with Coach Skinner, you named the other assistants you played for at BC, but like, what's your favorite word or phrase that like you have that you might be saying to the players sometime?
One thing that I always, and this is something that I got it from Coach Matthews, who actually heard it from Tom Kachalski, who said, and actually you were part of this as well, you know, when PG Select, you know, came about, and, you know, I didn't have much going on as far as recruiting. And then we go to Charlie Weber, it goes well for me. He did a write-up, and in the write-up it said, every time I see this kid, he's better than the last time that I saw him. So one thing that I always tell my guys is, you never know who's watching, but make sure that when they see you, you're better than the last time that they saw you. Because if you're not better, then they just write you off. They assume that you've peaked, that you're not getting any better, and they'll move on to the next thing. So keep working, but make sure that when the lights come on, you're better than the last time they saw you. And then if you do that, everything else will take care of itself.
I like that. And, you know, Tom Kachalski just retired this year. I actually talked to him a couple of weeks ago, you know, just to call him. I mean, I was one of those guys who I called him several times. I know I had to reach him before 10:30. He didn't have a voicemail. He didn't have call waiting. So, so it took me 2 days before I could even reach him, because I know everybody was calling him, and like he would even come to Hofstra games. You know, I leave him some tickets. So, you know, I've been, man, with Tom Kachalski since 1988, summer 1988, when I was a going into my senior year in high school, and I was at 5-star basketball camp back then. So been a long time with him and had a great relationship. He actually helped me with my first job when I went to Central Connecticut. He made sure that he let Howard Dickerman know that he couldn't go wrong in hiring me. So, I mean, Tom Kachowski is a name that, we always have a special place in my heart.
Yeah, it's amazing, the dude's memory, man. Like, so I saw him, was it this year or it was last year? We played at St. Francis, Brooklyn. And I know who he is. So I see him, but I've never had a one-on-one with him. Like, he just, all I could go off was the write-ups. And like, I'm like, after the game, he's around talking to somebody, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna go talk to him. Like, forget it. I'm gonna go introduce myself. And I walk up to him, and he is like, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you're like, Lewis, hey, like, I'm about to get into my, like, I don't know if you remember me, but you wrote up about me at, he like, hey, Lewis, I remember you, like, Charlie Weber, I'm like, yada, yada. I'm like, man, all the kids you covered, like, that was in 2001.
Exactly.
You remember me? Like, and stuff like that. And I was like, man, it's crazy to have a memory like that. And then he started to talk about games I don't remember. Like, you know what I mean? I don't even remember playing them, but this dude, like, he didn't forget at all.
No computer. He still used a typewriter. Like, it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Didn't drive. Like, took public transportation most places. Like, I mean, he still lives, like, in the 70s and 80s and still was successful. That was just amazing. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Outside of make sure that they're, you're better than the last time that they saw you. One of my friend's father, and at the time when, I was living in Oxford Hill and Glass Manor, I wasn't trying to hear it just because I'm a huge guy on loyalty. Like, I'm from my neighborhood. I represent my neighborhood. My friends, my friends that you see me with today, I was with them, way back when. And, my friend's father, as we started to get a little older and guys started to, you know how that is. People start to go their separate ways. He was like, listen, I see what you're trying to do as far as keeping everybody together and, all that type of stuff, but everybody not going to be able to go. There's going to be some friends that they don't have the same desires. They don't have the same, ambition. And no knock to them, like, they're just fine with where they are. Like, they're, not that they're bad people, that they're just fine with where they are. And at the time, I'm like, maybe your friends, me and my boys, like, we tight like this. I ain't going nowhere without whatever I get, I'm bringing them with me, this, that, and the third. And, as I got older and I started to see, like, certain guys, they're content with where they are, and that's okay. And life has always been a weeding out process. So, the same guys you grew up with in 8 and 10 and under basketball, they didn't make the middle school team. And then, those guys in middle school some guys didn't make the high school team. It's a weeding out because you start to bust in from all different areas and you're getting the best that your area has to offer. And it's just, life is just a weeding out process. And, as long as you continue to strive to be better, then you're going to lose some people along the way. And that's okay. Those lines of communications are still open, but I just can't, hang out with you every day, all day anymore. It is what it is.
That's some great advice, man, because that definitely rings true.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your happy place? Because, like, people don't understand, like, the job, man, and, like, how much time and energy is spent into it. And like, like, I tell people, man, we work 355, 360 days a year and 12, 15-hour days, and you need a mental break sometimes. You need to, like, just get away, but, like, where's your happy place?
It's crazy because, like, I don't do much. So I really enjoy the locker room and the dining hall. Because, like, the kids, they could get on me. Like, I'm not coach. I mean, there's still a level of respect, but I'm not coach in the dining hall. you know, if y'all want to joan and all that type of stuff, like we can get it on, you know what I mean? So I like that. I like that dynamic. You know, just being around the guys, and then still not being so far removed that they can't come to me about things that they may be insecure about. You know, I mean, it's a little strange, but you know, I've had a kid who just wanted to come talk to me about girls that he didn't like. He wasn't comfortable talking to his letting them know that he hadn't experienced certain things yet. You know, like, you know, what about this? You know, I've had, you know, kids come to me, hey, coach, like, I've never drank before, but, you know, I want to, like, with the team, but I've never done it before. Like, I'm like, dude, if you don't want to do that, you know, just having those type of don't be pressured, you know, and just having to have those conversations, because for myself, you know, who went to a predominantly white institution, I had never drank before I got to college. And you just hop on campus and voila, like, it's everywhere. And like, no one educated me on, you know, what this does, what that does, you know, and we can avoid it all we want, but as college coaches, and we know it's out there, you know, it's on campus. So, you know, by having these conversations, I don't feel bad about it, because I feel like I've been, like, again, I'm not too far removed. I've been there. I know what that, you know, the first time somebody, you know, came to my dorm, which was older players, nah, you ain't staying in the room, you know, you're not staying in the room tonight. Come on, man. Like, and then now, you know, I'm drinking and all this type of stuff. It was fine, but, you know, I don't know what I'm drinking. I have no idea what this is. I'm doing it because y'all said it's okay, you know, and stuff like that. So if I can give some advice and share some stories, or even give somebody a proper exit route, if you don't want to do it, this is how you get out of that, you know. And if that's a problem, text me, you know, because I don't live far from the school, and that's purposely. Like, you know, I'm far enough. I used to live right by the school, and they just thought they could drop by whenever they felt like it, like unannounced, like I'm outside, you know. So I moved a little bit away, you know, I'm like 10 minutes away, but it's that way purposely, so that if anything ever happens, they know, call me or text me, I'm on my way.
You sound like me, man. Like I found that out. Like I moved. I would always live away, close enough or far away, because I didn't want to run into them at any time. Like, you could be out at the grocery store, you could be anywhere, and like, you want to have your family time, and then you got them. But then if you want to see them, you see them. But I'm like you, like, nah, you can't just come when you like when you want to. Like, I understand that one, trust me. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
Loyal, humble, and passionate.
3 good ones. Three really good ones. So, and I probably know the answer to this because I've just been around you so long now, man. I'm old. BYRD, we getting old, man.
Yes,
like,
sir. I got grades, man. I got grades up here.
What person and or event, and it could be and or event, has had the most influence on your life?
I'm gonna go with 2. I can make the event really quick, but that Charlie Weber tournament at with PG Select in 2000, the summer of 2001, changed everything. Changed the whole trajectory of where I was recruited, what level people thought I was. That changed everything for me. And as far as a person, it's my high school coach, Steve Matthews. And I say that because, you know, in hindsight, maybe I would have been okay because I would have ended up with you guys, you know, if I hadn't ended up at Gwynn Park. But he cared, like, you know, I had spent a lot of time, like, being out in Gwynn Park. Like, I went to Gwynn Park Middle as well. They didn't allow me to go to Shugart, which is a middle school in Prince George's County for people who don't know, because that was my neighborhood school as well. And just a lot of stuff was going on up at Shugart that, you know, my mom didn't want me around. So just getting out there, I didn't play initially. You know, I didn't play on the team just because I didn't know, like, the whole dynamic. You know, I went to school 35, 40 minutes away from my house. And I didn't know how I would get home. So I was like, no, I'm not staying after school and then get stranded. I ended up telling you this. It was a guy who you actually coached, Phil Goss, who actually was like, yo, like, my man, you be hooping in the gym. Like, why you don't come out for the team? And I'm like, I don't got no ride. Like, man, they got activity buses. Like, he kind of told me about all of that. Long story short, you know, my mom didn't, you know, in my neighborhood, like, there was no example to be like, hey, if, you know, you could be like that dude who's he plays at, you know, this university or anything like that. So when I would do like little stuff, like forget to take out the trash or, you know, something like that, my mom would be ready to pull me off the team, right? So, you know, one time, like she pulls me off the team. Coach Matthews has, you know, he goes and has a talk with her, like, hey, you know, I don't know if you know, but your son, like, he could be a special basketball player. And if you just, he was like, if you just allow me to, you know, put my hands on him, not physically put my hands on him, but put my hands around him and, you know, discipline him, because I didn't have a father at home. So, like, you know, kind of show him some man stuff, then he'll go to school for free. You won't have to pay. And I just remember my mother saying, okay, but if he misses the trash again, I'm coming at you, not him. Like, I was saying that. Like, so, you know, that was the agreement that they had. And, you know, anything that I got in trouble for, like, he was on me hard, because he knew that she would get involved with him if something stupid, you know, came, I get suspended or anything like that. So from that point on, like, he pushed me really hard. I mean, he would push all my buttons, and just try to get the best he could out of me, the best way he knew how. And you know, again, it was just somebody just finally believing that a kid from this, like, you could be more than this, you know, and it worked out for me. And it just surrounded me with, you know, like-minded guys. And again, I didn't know what was happening in Oxon Hill. You guys are relatively new too to that staff, like, you know, by the time I started coming out. So what was going on at Oxon Hill wasn't necessarily happening, you know, prior to you guys getting there. You know, my brother had been expelled and all that kind of stuff from Oxon Hill, my older brother. So, like I said, just by him getting me around other guys, you know, I was able to play not behind, but one of my best friends, Sherrod Ford, and, you know, he's older than me, 2 years older than me, and I got a chance to, this is probably illegal now that I'm a coach, but I was literally at every visit. I went to Villanova, I went to Clemson, I went wherever he had a visit, I was the tag along. And I, like, you know, you start to feel like this is the life for me. Like, this is my life. You know, I can do this too. Like, you know, and that's how I started to feel. And then it became the sort of the bare minimum. Like, oh, you need to go to college. Like, you're going to college. You know, whatever you got to do. And I think that's just what's taking me out of that environment and putting me around people who had some different aspirations, and they were fulfilling them. And then I'm like, well, I'm just going to be next in line. Like, I'm going to follow what he does and be next.
Sherrod Ford with a great, long career, man. I mean, he had a good career. I mean, I'm sure he's doing well. Mm-hmm. Always real good. A lot of Gwynn Park guys have really done well there. And yeah, by the way, I keep listening to Lewis now, and like, the more and more he talks, he should have been at Oxon Hill. That's the story. I still talk about it. He lived, you know, 5 minutes, 6 minutes from school, but he went 35 to 40 minutes away. So, I like I said, I can't fault that, but because he turned out great no matter what, and I've always followed his career no matter what. Kind of the last question, kind of wrap it up a little bit. I'd like to end with this. Knowing what you know now, like, what would you tell your younger self, because when you first got in as an ops guy, but what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
To that, a lot of coaches, most coaches they're open books. They'll embrace you. They'll, like, dude, just open your mouth. You know, when once I got the to go ahead. It's funny, I had that same story that Pat Sellers had about the recruiting test. Because, you know, they get you there, you just go and you have to do the test. And I'm like, I don't know, you know, I think, you know, like, for example, I went on Sherrod's visit with him. And one of the questions is, who's allowed to go on the official visit? And in my mind, I'm like, Well, it don't have to be just the parents. It could be a friend. It could be because that's how it, but that's not right. Just as far as telling my younger self, it's like, dude, throw yourself out there. You go on these recruiting trips. There's no better time. After the games are over, all of us are just about to go get something to eat and go back to the hotel. Like, hey man, where you going to eat at? Hey, you mind if I, tag along? Maybe sit down, have dinner. Just get to know some people. Because my first, year or two, I was just like, I'm coming here. I'm a recruit. I ain't missing no games. I'm here from 8 a.m. to the last 10 p.m. set. So, that's just how I was. And again, that's good as well, but you got to find time to build, gain some relationships, grow some friendships in this business. And I would have done that earlier. And as far as, just reaching out to people, not just people I know already, but like I said, just people hanging out. People want to talk. It's boring as hell sitting on that baseline for 12 hours. So people just want to talk, like I said, get some stories out. And you never know, man, who ended up becoming one of your best friends in this business.
So true on that front. And we spend a lot of hours, especially in the Great American Shootout. Cold downstairs, got to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Trust me, like, woo. There was a lot of hours in that one. So a lot of good basketball too. But I want to thank you again, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. You have anything to that you want to just wrap up with? Say anything just about your experience, about the show, any of that stuff?
First of all, this was a great experience. And like I said earlier, I love what you're doing. I love that because you are like an open encyclopedia, definitely for DMV basketball, but college basketball, now you're getting into the pro side. And, even with all this basketball talk that's been going on over the last couple months, like you were one of the people that I was always like, well, why don't you guys just ask Coach Barrett? He's either seen you play, recruited you, or, coached against you, like one of the two. So, to get some unbiased opinion. So I'm definitely glad that you've created this platform. Just going back beyond that, if I never told you guys, I definitely appreciate the platform that you gave us, as far as setting up that PG Select situation, because I think a lot of good came out of that probably wouldn't have happened had it not, come up. And it allowed a lot of us to start to get to where, we ended up today. So thank you guys for having a vision, for us, as youngsters, and, not being one of those guys, how it is around the way, that could steer us in the wrong direction or got us on IG Live trying to play one-on-one. It wasn't none of that, It was, about getting us seen in front of these coaches, and making sure we were academically prepared, all that stuff. So, like I said, if I never told you guys, man, it's definitely appreciated. And
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for those words. And I want to say thank you, viewers, for watching another great show with Lewis Bird, like I've been calling him. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.